Hello darlings, welcome to the channel. My name is ReettaJ and this is Higurashi When They Cry. The Watanagashi festival is pretty much at its peak. Let's go. From the altar set up in front of the shrine, the drums sounded with a booming echo. It was the finale of the festival. I'll be going off ahead then. Uh-oh, I need to go and get myself a good spot too. Well, then everyone, see you in a bit. Both ReettaJ and Tomitake-san gave their farewells and disappeared into the crowd. I wish the both of you the best in your endeavors. Now, shall we be off? Yeah, might as well go see ReettaJ's charming figure. Let's go. Yeah. Huh, that's Rena. What are you doing? Keiichi-kun, Mi-chan, save me! Since she was carrying such a ridiculously large stuffed animal, she was being carried by the flow of people. What is she doing? She must have her hands full taking care of that bear. So I'll leave Rena in your care, Kei-chan. I have my hands full taking care of Satoko. Who would want to be looked after by you, Mion-san? Ouch! Please don't pull my arm! Before losing sight of Mion, I grabbed the back of Rena's collar. Keiichi-kun, not there! Don't grab me there! Always so bossy. Where can I grab then? I didn't feel ashamed at all. Rena was ashamed enough for both of us. I grabbed onto Rena's hand and dashed after Mion and the others. We're gonna be late. Let's hurry up. Yeah. I hadn't realized Rena's hand was so delicate. Maybe she needed a bit more exercise and nutrition. That wasn't what I meant, not at all. My ears burned. I tried to keep calm. I repeated the phrase, "Keep it together, Keiichi Maebara," in my mind, but it didn't look like I would be able to anytime soon. I really didn't want Rena to see my face right then, so I pushed onwards, dragging her along without looking back even once. There was already a huge group of people gathered at the altar in front of the shrine. The fire at the altar made it as bright as midday and just as hot. There was a pile of futons wadded with sanctified robe in front of the altar. Come to think of it, they didn't say it was a festival... They did say it was a festival where they did something with the cotton and futons. Keiichi-san! Rena-san! We're over here! Satoko waved her hand from the front row. Sorry. Making our way through the mass of people, we reached the spot they'd saved. How was it? Were you able to have a little bit of excitement with Rena? You punk! So that's what your plan was. Instead of replying, Mion gave us a perverse grin. How was it, Rena? Was Kei-chan's hand bigger than you thought it would be? Rena turned bright red, puffs of steam shooting out of her. I heard something slice through the air and turned around to see Mion in the ground with a welt on her face. Mion, where were you hit? Between the ha and oh of her ha, I think. Rena, it's not good to punch your friends to hide your embarrassment. I didn't hit her. Whatever. Thump. The thunderous beat of the drum echoed, silencing the crowd. You must all be quiet. It's beginning. It was a solemn ritual. ReettaJ entered dressed as a shrine maiden, followed by members of the municipal committee. The elders all looked at ReettaJ and clasped their hands in praise. The only thing allowed to disturb the profound silence was the flash from Tomitake-san's camera. What's the big thing ReettaJ is holding? A hoe that's used for this festival. It's a sacred farming tool that only the shrine maiden may touch. It was an awkward shape for a piece of a farm equipment, not uncommon for something used in rituals. After reciting a Shinto prayer, ReettaJ approached the pile of futons gathered at the altar. She swung the hole skillfully, plowing it into the futons. Each and every little movement of this performance probably had to be done in a certain way. Without a doubt, this was a ritual. So what's next? Airing out the futons? She's purifying the futons that absorbed illnesses from the people over the winter? So when Keiichi said airing out the futons, he wasn't completely wrong. ReettaJ's face was already dripping with sweat. That hole was probably really heavy. She staggered side to side with the momentum of each swing. Satoko looked on, silently lending her support. Worried? Rika practiced every single day with Mochi Hammer. She will certainly prevail. Satoko's hands were sweaty, and whenever ReettaJ started to sway a little, she held her breath. Why wasn't Mion a candidate to be the Shrine Maiden? It feels wrong having ReettaJ swing around something so heavy. I'd do it if they asked me, you know? And, well, it's not something just anyone could do. Well, that's true. Shrine Maidens need to be pure after all. Oh! Mion drove her elbow into my side. With a thud of the big drum, ReettaJ gave a solemn bow and descended from the altar. That triggered a round of generous applause. After the Shinto priest had raised up the cleansed futons like a portable altar, all the spectators stood up. Following after the priest, we all marched on at a moderate pace. They descended the shrine's giant stairs in a line. What's happening now? Washing the futons in the river? Watanagashi means setting cotton adrift, you know. The procession continued right up to the bank of the stream. A fire was stoked high and it was bright as day here too. People started crowding around it and clamoring. Alright, get in line. Line up, Keiichi-kun. I wondered what was up. Maybe we'd get some holy wine? Red and white bean buns? Bean buns, maybe? It's not food. I said it was cotton. But of course. They didn't call it the Watanagashi for nothing. I finally understood. The municipal committee members pulled out the cotton from inside the futons and balled it up like mochi, handing it out to people. Rena dove into the line and brought out some for me as well. We then proceeded to the bank of the stream. Since it's your first time, Keiichi-kun, just copy what I do. She held the cotton in her right hand and, waving her hand as if to purify it, she touched it to her forehead, chest, navel and both thighs. You do this 3 times and silently give thanks to Oyashiro-sama. Oyashiro-sama, what's that? The name of the shrine's god? Yes, it's the guardian deity of Misawa. It brings about both miracles and curses, so you must be sure to show respect. That sounded like a pretty frightening god, but well, when in Rome. I was officially a resident of Misawa now after all. Doing as Rena showed me, I touched the cotton over myself 3 times. Thank you, Oyashiro-sama. Thank you, Oyashiro-sama. Thank you, Oyashiro-sama. This way, all the evil that possesses you is sucked out by the cotton. Then you let it gently drift away in the stream, and you're done. Together, Rena and I set out our pieces of cotton afloat on the surface of the water. The flowers of cotton blooming in the water had sucked out all the evil festering in Misawa and drifted off, disappearing into the distance. It was wonderful, like those floating lantern festivals I'd seen on TV. The best part, though, was feeling like this rite of passage had made me a true resident of Misawa. While staring off into the stream, I somehow got separated from Rena. I wasn't very lonely, though. I knew this place now. This is where I live. My home. It's probably better if I just stay here instead of wandering around aimlessly. Someone would surely find me while I was enjoying the evening breeze. I heard a familiar voice. It was Tomitake-san's. I headed towards it. How did it go, Tomitake-san? Were you able to get some good shots? Yeah, fortunately. Tomitake-san was with a girl. I felt a little like I was intruding. How was it, Keiichi-kun? Did you enjoy the festival? From the way she spoke, it seemed like she was a resident of Misawa. I really should try harder to remember people's faces here. What was her name? Well, it was fun. My face must have given away how desperately I was trying to remember her name because she gave a light-hearted chuckle. It's probably because it hasn't been long since you moved here. It's pretty hard to believe, seeing how friendly you've gotten with the other kids. If that's how it looked, it was probably all thanks to Rena and Mion. Perhaps you feel more like a resident of Hinamizawa after taking part of the festival today? I wonder about that. No, that's not like you. I had tried to get used to Hinamizawa, but there were still plenty of things I didn't know. The faces of people I'd met, for example. Things that had happened in the past as well. Oh, you're feeling left out? Oh, you're feeling left... Who the hell is talking? Oh, you're feeling left out because of something like that? It's not so much as feeling left out, it's just... I'm not sure how to say it. That incident at the dam construction site, the fighting over it and other conflicts. That terrible incident they pretended they didn't even know about whenever I brought it up. Even though it was in the past, as someone living in Hinamizawa, it wasn't wrong to want to know about both the good and bad that had happened here. If it will put you at ease, then I'll tell you everything I know. Tomitake-san's smile made me more relieved than I'd ever been. It was hard to think of what to ask when someone said, "Ask me anything," though. Even when there was so much I wanted to ask. Then, could you tell me about what happened when the dam was being constructed? There was a big incident where Hinamizawa was going to be submerged, right? I think the locals would be more knowledgeable about the dam than I am. Well, if you don't mind, I'll tell you what I know. It's only what I read in the newspaper, though. Tomitake-san's eyes entered an unfocused gaze as he searched through his memory. Then he spoke. The decision to start the dam project was finalized 7 or 8 years ago. I heard it was the next major project after Kurobe, where there were three major issues in Japan at the time. Improving inter-island transportation infrastructure, meeting the higher demand for electricity, and flood control. There was a boom of dam building due to the massive economic stimulus they provided on top of generating electricity and flood control. Hinamizawa had the right conditions to support dam construction, so it was singled out. The dam reservoir would have covered quite a lot of ground when it was completed. The entire area, right up to Yagoichi, way upstream, would be underwater. But why did they have to pick a populated area like Hinamizawa? Couldn't they have instead picked a place where nobody lived? I'm not really sure why, but I heard that it was just the right terrain for building a dam. Of course, there were protests here in Hinamizawa. ReettaJ had said there was a battle. From that choice of words, I had to guess things had turned violent. There was a trial, and it was even brought up before the national diet. It was covered in Tokyo newspaper too. Mion had told me all about that as well. I'm sure every resident of Hinamizawa had united to fight together. The feeling of solidarity found here, which could not be expressed properly with mere words, was likely brought about by that battle. As a result, bribery and scandals were brought to light. As things got more and more complicated, they eventually halted construction. If I wanted to know, now was my only chance to ask. It was certainly a bizarre incident that boys my age would be curious about. I felt a little shame from the fact I was petty enough to have my curiosity piqued by Rena and Mion's refusal to talk about the event. But I figured I might as well ask since I had the chance. Just so I would stop thinking about it so much. So, there was a dismemberment, right? There was. He happened to be here in Hinamizawa. I happened to be here in Hinamizawa at the time, so I remember it well. Tomitake-san's answer was nonchalant, in contrast to my hesitantly forced-out question. It was about this time, 4 years ago. It was the day of the Watanagashi, if I recall correctly. Debate on whether to continue construction on the dam was in disarray. Scandal after scandal rocked the project near the end. The incident that was the final nail in the coffin for the dam project. A fight at the dam construction site ended in the victim being murdered. Fearing prosecution, the 6 assailants divided the remains into 6 pieces and each hid one. 5 of the 6 criminals turned themselves in out of guilt, but one was still on the run. The right arm he'd hidden had yet to be found. The major details lined up with what was in the tabloid I'd read earlier. It certainly was a tragic incident, but it wasn't so terrible that Rena and Mio needed to hide it from me. I guess they didn't want someone who'd just moved here to have a negative impression of Hina Misawa. I felt grateful for having friends who worried so much about me, as well as Shane for still being so interested in it. It was near the end of all the trouble with the dam, you see, so everyone was saying that it was Oyashiro-sama's curse. Oyashiro-sama's curse, huh? Oyashiro-sama was the name of the god at the shrine that held the festival today, if I recall correctly. I see. Their guardian deity rained divine punishment down on the evil dam construction for trying to flood Hina Misawa.
Apparently the younger ones didn't think so, but it seems the elderly in the village never doubted that it was Oyashiro-sama's curse.
The woman with Tomitake-san said with a mischievous chuckle. Tomitake-san began laughing with her. It was so infectious I ended up laughing as well.
But I wonder about it now. There are quite a few, I think, amongst the youth too.
A few what? People who believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. The woman's lips were still curled into a smile, but her expression turned stern.
Then, after that, it continued every year, always around this time.
Continued? What continued? Tomitake-san paused for a second, as if to build up some suspense, then he whispered to me, as if someone might have been listening. Every year, on the day of the Watanagashi, somebody dies. The year following the dismemberment, on the day of the Watanagashi, a man from Hina Misawa who had supported the dam fell off a cliff overlooking some rapids and died while he was on vacation. Unfortunately for his wife, the body was never recovered.
He supported the dam construction even though he lived in Hina Misawa. At the time there were whispers amongst the elderly saying it was Oyashiro-sama's curse.
The woman chuckled mischievously again. Then, the next year, the night of the Watanagashi, the shrine's Shinto priest died suddenly from an unknown illness. His wife drowned herself in the bog that night. The shrine's Shinto priest? You mean he was from the shrine here? The woman nodded.
There was a rumor amongst the villagers that they weren't able to quell Oyashiro-sama's anger.
Then, the year after that, again, on the night of the Watanagashi, they discovered a battered body of a local housewife. Housewife? Up until now, all these mysterious deaths were people involved with the dam or who had connections with the Oyashiro-sama. With that in mind, could the housewife have been involved in some way too?
Exactly,
the woman stated slightly. No, it was more menacingly.
One of the victim's relatives, you see, was connected to the younger brother of the dam supporter who fell to his death 2 years ago. 2 years before. The younger brother is still alive, it seems, but it did bother him quite a bit, so he moved to a neighboring town.
For a while I stood there with my mouth agape. The battle over the dam construction with Hina Misawa's future at stake, and the murder at the center of it all. That was all I knew, and that was all I wanted to ask about. But that wasn't all there was to the story. Homicide, body disposal, accidental deaths, terminal illness, suicide, fatal beatings. I'm a pretty level-headed person. I don't really want to believe in curses, but the freakish deaths happened every year on the day of the Watanagashi, and all of them were related to the dam construction. It was easy to dismiss each of them as coincidences by themselves, but when you put them all together, dismissing all of them as a coincidence would defy logic. I don't believe in curses, but every single year on the day of the Watanagashi, somebody or something makes it happen, without fail. The woman chuckled again, as if she picked up on what I was thinking. It felt like she was saying,
maybe we frightened him,
stuff like that. I felt embarrassed at being read so easily. I pressed Tomitake-san to continue, a bit of impatience and irritation in my tone. Then, so someone died the next year, right? Who was it that time? I wonder, who do you think, Keiichi-kun? The hell? The way he said it didn't agree with me. The sarcastic tone tickled me off. Don't avoid the question, I'm serious here.
Hey, calm down, Keiichi-kun.
I realized when she tried to calm me down that I'd been panicking. We aren't trying to avoid the question, Keiichi-kun. It's just, when you say the next year, that's
today.
When she hesitated to say it, Tomitake-san finished for her. I broke into a cold sweat. I really didn't like the direction this was headed. Nobody wants to speak of it, but they all think it's going to happen again tonight. The festival was so cheerful, though. No, well, the victim last year, the housewife, she was a non-believer. It turns out she didn't even attend the Watanagashi festival.
There was a rumor going around that if you didn't participate in the festival, you would incur Oyashiro-sama's wrath. Did you hear anything about this, Keiichi-kun?
I never even heard a whisper of that rumor. Then, the reason everyone was at the festival was they were afraid of the curse. I figured that must have been the reason. There were a lot more people at Watanagashi than usual. I guess everyone was just afraid, after all, of Oyashiro-sama's curse. I couldn't utter a single word. In this modern age, where we've made progress in all scientific fields, shedding light on the unknown and misunderstood, where black and white television has been eradicated and we've sent men to the moon, even with all our accomplishments, this can exist in modern society. Tons of invitations were sent out to neighboring towns' youth groups to help pad the numbers, but after that string of events, few decided to join. The municipal committee members were complaining about how hard it was to gather participants. Also, the police are treating each case as isolated. They don't believe they're connected. They're trying to keep it quiet, so it's all plainclothes officers. It finally began to dawn on me why Rena and Mion were reluctant to talk. If nothing happened during this Watanagashi, everything would have been over with and I'd be none the wiser. If nothing happened, all would be well. In that case, it would all end up just being crazy talk. I should have just pretended like I knew nothing from the beginning. Then they wouldn't have had to act like nothing happened. And we would have all gotten back to life as usual.
Maybe it was just too much for him after all.
The woman ran her fingers through her hair as she sighed. No, it wasn't. Not at all. I had tried to act strong, but that just served to emphasize how much the information had unsettled me. After seeing how I looked, Tomitake-san appeared to regret saying anything. Letting out a sigh, he then spoke, forcing an awkward, upbeat demeanor. Keiichi-kun, surely you don't believe in such thing as curses. Well, no. If the causes of all the crimes were unknown, with the perpetrators and their methods all mysteries, then I would think it's the work of a curse. But that's not how things are in reality. The police are investigating the evidence and suspects to uncover the truth. Hearing him say police made me feel a lot better. It was perfect for repelling the word curse. The first one, the dismemberment, for example. I told you, didn't I? All but one of the perpetrators were arrested. It's only a matter of time for the last one. The motive turned out to have been an argument they had while intoxicated. That's no curse. The motive turned out to have been an argument they had while intoxicated. That's no curse. Don't you agree? That was true. If it didn't happen on the day of the Watanagashi, then I wouldn't think it was related to the curse at all. The accidental death of the man who supported the dam is the same. He was in a position that made others hate him. The police made a point of investigating from that angle. They concluded it was an accident, not foul play. But they both happened on the day of the festival, right? Just think about it, Keiichi-kun. Do you think people with a lot of enemies here in Hinamizawa could participate easily in a local festival? It would be especially hard for them to be around during the Watanagashi, so they probably left Hinamizawa intentionally around this time of year to travel, don't you think? It wasn't a very clear explanation, but I sort of understood what Tamitake-san was getting at. So I pressed on earnestly, asking more questions so that I could convince myself. Then, Tamitake-san, what about the priest who died after that? The one with the unknown illness? That also happened on the day of the festival. It's even easier to explain what happened to the Shinto priest. The Watanagashi is a really big event that happens once a year. It was probably from all the build-up stress. Or it may have been because of pre-existing condition. But it was an unknown illness. It's hard to believe something with an unknown cause could exist with all our advanced in medicine.
It's just an exaggeration. Rumors making rumors. Anyone could get worked up over having incidents happen 2 years in a row. The sudden death is quite unnatural, though. Of course, the police ordered an autopsy because of the strange way he died, but there wasn't enough for them to open a full investigation, you know. Turns out it was just a sudden death due to illness.
The priest's wife committed suicide, correct? What about that? I believe I already explained that. Everyone was shaken up by the incidents happening for a third year. Those who are strong of faith were quick to believe it was the work of the curse. Of course, that included the priest's wife. Apparently, they found a suicide note that said something like, "My death will quell Oyashiro-sama's anger." Well then, how about the next incident with the housewife? That happened on the day of the Watanagashi too. The perpetrator has already been caught and the case has been closed. Turned out it was just some nutjob trying to continue the legacy of the Hinamizawa curse. Then, how about the incident next year? Oh yeah, this year is the next year. Tamitake-san gave a hearty laugh. Nothing will happen, not this year. There was never a curse to begin with. It's just that a group of people believed it was the explanation for a string of coincidences. My internal computer finally got itself back on track. I felt a bit embarrassed by how childish I'd become after losing control and panicking.
I can see very clearly now that Keiichi-kun really does love Hinamizawa. Even if Oyashiro-sama's curse actually did exist, Keiichi-kun couldn't bring himself to believe that such a thing existed.
I felt very relieved. I should probably just forget everything I heard tonight. I'll greet Rena and Mio tomorrow with the same smile as always. They'd probably also like tonight to end without incident, so they can continue on tomorrow without having worried me. Perhaps seeing my change in attitude, the woman who had been listening in stretched as she got up from the rocks she was sitting on.
Well then, I should be getting back.
Goodness, I think I may have gone on a bit too long. There were so few people compared to the crowd from before. I could only make out a few groups of families enjoying the cool evening air. I looked at my watch. It seemed we'd talked for a better part of an hour. Didn't you come along with your friends, Keiichi-kun? Not going to look for them? Oh yeah, they might be all looking for me. You're quite a scoundrel, making the girls look for you.
See you, Keiichi-kun. Have a nice night. You too, Jiro-san. I'll see you a bit later.
Tamitake-san seemed to be quite a scoundrel himself, so his name is Jiro. After dusting off her backside, she disappeared into the crowd of people still busy cleaning up the shrine grounds.
Keiichi-kun, so sorry.
In her place, Rena came running over. I could see all the others behind her. Speak of the devil. My bad, Kei-chan. We got so caught up in our discussion. I'd completely forgotten about them while caught up in my own conversation, so we were even.
My, so Tomitake-san was with you. This works out perfectly. We still need to settle the shooting gallery competition.
That's right. So, I guess I'm gonna end up dead last. In the end, after my dramatic victory, ReettaJ was the last challenger, but there weren't many targets left. The ones remaining were all tiny and difficult to hit. She did take her time and aim, but all 3 shots completely missed. She was to end up sharing the loser's crown with Tomitake-san. However, she did her little mewing cry in front of the owner and he turned to mush instantly. She was given a bag of gum as a consolation prize. Her methods were a bit audacious, but she did avoid being the loser rather magnificently. Come to think of it, ReettaJ is quite a trickster.
I have no idea what Keiichi is talking about. Now then, it is decided that Tomitake-san is dead last.
Everybody cheered and applauded. Tomitake-san smiled wryly, slightly bewildered. So, Tomitake-san, are you ready? Penalty time! Oh, I completely forgot about that. You're too naive, Tomitake-san. This is why our club can never lose. Mion pulled a felt tip marker from her pocket. Oh, it's that. Show him some mercy, Mion. At least use a washable marker. A permanent one is too harsh. It just has to be permanent. It comes off when you do the laundry anyway. Oh, what's this? Please take it easy on me. Olivas pinned his arms behind his back and Mion approached him with a marker in one hand. And squip, squip, squip. But she didn't write on Tomitake-san's face. She wrote on the shirt she was wearing. You'd better have your big break this year, Mion. Rena took up the marker next. Show me your photos next time, okay, Rena? It was a little heartwarming and I just had to laugh. This is more like a farewell card than a penalty.
I am not as soft as the rest. I'll make sure this is a proper penalty.
Haha, dead last, Satoko. Try harder next time, Rika.
Here you go, Keiichi-san.
I couldn't decide what to write, but based on what kind of penalty this was probably the most appropriate. Come back and play again, Keiichi. Tomitake-san was silent the entire time. At first he was quite bewildered, but now he had a different look on his face. So, I have to wear this all the way back to Tokyo as part of the penalty? Of course! You'd better wear it all the way home.
You could wear it when you come back. It would be nice.
He appeared deeply moved. Embarrassment mixed with a wealth of other emotions made him turn a bright red. Understood. I'll wear this the next time I come here, I promise. Everyone cheered and applauded. It was the finest parting gift possible for a buddy heading out tonight. I saw the woman who was with Tomitake-san standing near the festival grounds. It seemed Tomitake-san noticed her too and knew it was time to leave. Seems like your guest is waiting. Isn't it about time? Yeah, that's certainly how it seems. Tomitake-san headed off towards her and seemed to apologize for making her wait. We all shouted stuff at Tomitake-san. Each time we did, he looked back and waved his hand. Eventually, he faded into the darkness of the night, out of sight. It was quite a casual farewell. This wasn't the first time any of us had seen someone off. They had done the same thing many times before.
He's gone.
Well, it's about time we take off too. ReettaJ had to stay behind with other committee members since they were having a meeting. Satoko was tagging along with her. I headed back home with the usual suspects. The walk back was quite lively, with talk of the day's war stories. Should have done this, should have done that kind of stuff. Rena and I parted ways with Mion, and then it was just the two of us. Then we got to my house and I parted ways with Rena as well. It's already pretty late. Are you all right by yourself?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. It's close. I'm going to run too.
If you run into some weirdo, just yell.
If someone does come, will you come and save me, maybe? Maybe?
If I hear you.
Oh, okay. I'll scream loud enough so you can hear me.
Merrily spinning her arms around at high speed, Rena dashed off. She was fine. In that mode, not even an adult could stand against her. Rena's cheerful presence disappeared and it finally became quiet again. The curse that not a single person even whispered about. The more I learned about it tonight, the more unsettling it became. It didn't show on any of their faces, but they were probably all quite concerned about it as well. But if nothing happens tonight, then it all ends up being just crazy talk. Nothing will happen, nothing bad, nothing at all.
What's wrong, Keiichi? Why are you standing in place like that? Come inside, you'll catch a cold.
It was my mom. Did you go, Mom, to the Watanagashi festival?
In the end, your father didn't wake up, so I missed it. A little disappointing.
Mom stuck her tongue out with a bit of an embarrassed look on her face. You have received new tips. Mr. and Mrs. Hojo's falling incident. The terminal something something. Okay, this is something new. This is something interesting. Housewife murder, terminal illness, death of Shinto priest Furude. I think Rika is Furude and Satoko is Hojo, so we'll read these at this point. From the June 1890 edition, on the afternoon of XX at 2 p.m., office employee blah 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 and his wife blah 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 of Misawa village in Shishibone prefecture disappeared after falling 27 meters from the observatory platform in Shirakawa prefecture. Police and firefighters searched downstream and discovered the body of blah 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 at around 7 p.m. that evening. His wife, blah blah blah, has yet to be found. The search has run into difficulties due to the effects of Typhoon 3 from the previous day. It appeared a railing at the observatory that XX leaned on had broken, causing him to fall. The groundskeeping staff was questioned by the police in regard of facility deterioration and if park maintenance was performed properly. Oh, that was short. Cool. And then the priest thing. From the June 1981 edition. On the afternoon of blah blah, around 10 p.m. in the ex-district of Hinamizawa village in Shishibone prefecture, the Shinto priest of the Furude shrine passed away after an existing condition he was recovering from suddenly worsened. Parties close to the deceased said he was suffering from anxiety issues concerning the festival, which was to be held that day. Also, after blah blah blah's death, his wife blah 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 went missing, leaving behind a farewell note. The police and local youth association continued the search. However, given the presence of the farewell message and the fact that the Onigafuchi marsh is said to be bottomless, they have run into difficulties. Let's continue a little bit further. Good morning. Nice job yesterday, Kei-chan. You didn't do so badly yourself, Mion. Yesterday was fun.
Oh, that's right, Keiichi-kun. Thank you very much for Mr. Bear.
I'm glad you like it. Don't use it as a pincushion, though.
I wouldn't.
Still chatting happily, we entered the classroom. But the moment I stepped into the room, a splashing sound and a nasty sensation. It was a bucket filled to the brim with water. And unfortunately, my foot stepped right into it.
My now, how diligent of you to mop the floor this morning.
Clump, clump, clump.
Wah! Kei-chan flicked my forehead.
You should set a more brutal trap next time. Seeing that, Rena began to swoon as Mion looked on dejectedly. Everything was the same as always. Everybody was there and nothing felt out of place. The uncertainties I'd had in the back of my mind since yesterday had vanished.
What is it, Keiichi-kun? Didn't get enough sleep, maybe?
I slept like a log. But if you want, I'll do a reenactment during class.
You shouldn't do that.
Mion alerted us that the teacher was coming, so everyone shuffled off to their seats.
Good morning, everyone. So, yesterday was the festival. Thank you to all the people who stayed until the very end to help clean up.
We were all slackers, so none of us actually helped clean up. Actually, I had a feeling that the only thing we did was run around the festival and cause a ruckus.
Okay then, this time of year you might see some people here from out of town doing interviews about the festival for magazines.
I thought it was the usual stuff, so I was going to tune it out, but then I noticed a different tone in her voice and started paying attention.
You may be asked questions. Please don't say anything silly or something that could be taken the wrong way. Do you understand?
In unison, everyone replied, "Yes, ma'am." What she'd said was really vague, but I understood what she was trying to say. After all, this was the 5th year. There were probably a lot of third-rate reporters pouring in, hoping something regarding the curse had happened. It did nothing but perpetuate the village's bad image. She was saying, "Don't spout stupid shit you think is funny." And now, I was one of the ones who needed to keep their mouths shut. I found it rather cute how I felt a sense of unity from such a trite thing, if I do say so myself. I was summoned to club activities after school. Since everybody was still pretty tired from yesterday, we just spent the day relaxing. Yeah, that wasn't happening. Today, let's play a classic game of deduction. How about this one? Oh, a game from overseas. Looks interesting. And the instructions are in English, but the rules don't seem that hard.
I won't lose, you hear?
I'm not too bad at this game. It seemed that Rena didn't handle this kind of game very well. The rules are, the person who can match the murder, weapon and the scene of the crime wins. There were 3 kinds of cards comprised suspects, weapon and location, so they're playing cool basically. I could see the names Mion and Rika were written on the suspect cards. Oh, a card with my name on it as well. Plenty of different weapons too, like knives, axes and poison. The locations are pretty nice too, like the living room, study and the courtyard.
So basically, you take out one of each of the cards. These are the answer cards.
So we shuffle the remaining cards and hand them out. We ask each other about the cards and figure out the right ones. Ah, I see. So the cards nobody has are the true perpetrators. So yeah, it's the clue.
Then you raise your hand if you know the answer. The game ends and we check if the answer is correct.
If you are right, then you get a point. If you are wrong, then you lose a point. Since the game ends if no one gets it right, then all the cards are gathered up and redistributed. You learn as you go. You really have to use your brain.
You'll get confused if you don't take notes.
The rest you can figure out by playing. So, Mion, what's the penalty this time? Everyone directed their attention to Mion.
Let's see. We're all still a little tired from yesterday, so maybe we'll take it easy with a goal for a penalty. You'll be asked to rush out and buy stuff for everyone. So, just being asked to go buy stuff like drinks and candy, I guess?
I feel like the penalty today is pretty simple. I wonder, is it really? Is Keiichi-san thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah. You don't know what you'll have to buy. I'm betting Mion would send out whoever loses to buy stuff like hemorrhoid cream or happy family planning manual or other crazy stuff. The cards were lightly shuffled and passed out to each player. The real perpetrator, correct weapon and the scene of the murder have been taken out, so that means all the cards I have in my hand are innocent cards. Then I'll go first since I'm the club president, I guess. Well then, Mion, knife, study. You pick one suspect, one weapon and a murder scene and ask each person. If you have any of those cards, then you must say I have one, however you don't need to say which one you have. Yeah, I got it.
Me too.
I have one. Oh my, all of them are here. 3 people answered when she asked if they had Mion, knife and study, so that means Mion, knife and study are in the clear. Got to jot that down.
Then I'll go. Rena asks lounge.
Only 2 people said they had one, so it means out of Rena, Axe and Lounge, one of them is correct and is part of the crime? No, wait. Even if they say they have one, they don't have to say how many. It's possible that either Sadako or Rika-chan has 2 of the cards. Well, Kei-chan is next. Go ahead. Wait just a little. I'm still sorting things out. The game has me thinking more than I thought. Oh man, this feels like it's going to be tough. Alright, now I have the criminal. What? Already? Here I am, spinning around in circles, and Mion just now raises her hand. The murderer is Rika-chan, in the infirmary, with a poison. Well? Mion drew the cards from the box and we checked to see if her deduction was right.
You were right!
Oh, all I needed was one more hand. I couldn't tell whether it was poison or a pistol.
I'd never use a pistol. I like killing them slowly with poison.
Rika-chan said such a huge and terrifying thing with such a sweet little face. Everyone was making commotion about how they almost had it. Rena and I were left out in the cold though.
How did you do, Keiichi-kun? I couldn't get it at all.
Don't worry, I had no idea either. How can you both be so unsure? You'll both end up in last place together at this rate. That's even worse, going off buying something together as a couple. What if we ended up having to buy a happy family planning guide?
I can tell from Keiichi's expression that he's not very good at this game.
What? That's not true. I'll show you the true power of Sherlock Maibara during the next round. My, that sounds just wonderful. I shall give you quite the thrashing. After that, I managed to somewhat grasp the trick behind the game, but I was still always a step or two behind. I saw that Mion was somehow gleaning information from how the others were asking their questions. That level of experience was just too much. The only way I could stage a comeback was if I became ruthless. I just out the simple concept of deduction and switched over to the thought process needed to win. The important thing isn't to find out the criminal, it is to win at the game. Eureka! Ah, sorry, needed to go to the bathroom. Take your time and squeeze out a nice one.
Mi-chan, that's gross.
I had them hold off the game and headed down the hall. The air was crisp. It showed just how stagnant the air in the classroom was from our body heat. On the school grounds, some of our classmates were still playing around. After spending some time cooling my head, Rena had made her way over towards me.
Keiichi-kun, did you call for me?
Yeah, I did. As I got up from my seat, I winked over at Rena. I'm glad it worked out. I don't want to waste much time, so I'll get right to the point. Rena, what's your record at this game we're playing today? She was taken aback. After a moment, she hesitantly opened her mouth.
Well, all losses. Why do you ask, I wonder?
I could tell from how apprehensively she was playing. The way things are going, I will as well. I can't figure out a way to pull off a last-minute comeback on this one.
So, I guess both of us will be taking that penalty.
Hey, don't accept defeat already. How about we win this? Both of us.
But how can we win?
I brought my lips up to Rena's ear. Whisper, 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 whisper. Shh, 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 shh.
Huh? Is that allowed?
Did you forget, Rena? The second rule of our society: do everything in your power to obtain victory.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
Our plan of attack was quite a rudimentary one. At the beginning of the game, everyone would be focused on their own hand for a while, taking notes and whatnot. Since our seats were right next to each other, we'd reveal our hands to each other. If we did it under the desk, then nobody would know. We'd begin the game with twice as much information as everyone else. Having this much information would mean we'd need to investigate less. With this sort of plan of attack, we start off with big lead over the other guys.
Yeah, with this we can probably win.
We both smirked at each other. If I was the shady businessman, then Rena was the corrupt senator. Pleasure doing business with you.
Then let's hurry back. We'll work as a duo to surprise everyone.
Hey now, there's no point if we go back together. It would be like flat out telling them we made a little arrangement.
Oh, sorry. Then what should we do?
Go back ahead of me, Rena. I'll take my time coming back after washing my face or something.
Okay, got it.
Rena turned around and headed back to the classroom. I guess I should wait a bit longer before going back. If I went too soon, it would seem like I went to the bathroom. If Mion or one of them suspected something, then there could be problems. It wouldn't seem that. Well, they'd figure it out sooner or later, because both Rena and I would start winning over and over again. Both Rena and I will have earned enough points to avoid being the losers by the time Mion realized what was happening. Excellent. Not bad at all. Hi, Paracin. May I have a moment? Huh. It's a teacher. Man, things were just getting good. What is it? I'm a bit...
You have a guest. Please make your way to the entrance.
A guest? It's not like I own a hotel.
They have been waiting. Please hurry.
It was rather unfortunate that I'd have someone waiting on me right before my big match, but I was more interested in the unexpected guest. I didn't want to waste any time, so I decided to take care of it quickly. The Atreyu was a heavy contrast from the hot sunlight and deep shadows. Waiting there, looking uncomfortably warm, was a middle-aged man, his tie sloppily loosened and his jacket tucked underneath his arm. Are you my Paracin? Keiichi, my Paracin. There was no question that he wasn't a resident of Hina Misawa, and that this was without a doubt the first time he had met me. Ever since I met Tomitake-san, I'd been running into so many middle-aged men. That's right. Who might you be? I have the AC in my car. Let's talk there. It's a bit hot in here, don't you think? The man, completely ignoring my question, pointed over to his car parked near the gate and began walking. You've got to be kidding me. I had no intention of going along with some geezer I didn't even know, and he was asking me to get in his car with him. I'm not going to bite. Come on now. He opened the back door of his car and called me over. I didn't like this old man, but I wanted to know what this was about. Even while knowing that conversation that started out like this have never led anything good. The inside of his car was pretty cool. Cars with air conditions were supposed to be a luxury. My dad didn't have one in his car, at least. Please let me know if it's too cold for you, okay? I have a habit of cranking it up all the way. So what business do you have with me? Out of spite, I decided to ignore his remark in the same way he did to me and start my own line of questioning. He pulled out a notepad from his pocket and took out a picture that was stuck between the pages. On it was a face of a pretty goofy-looking guy. If you know anything related to this individual, then please tell me. Who the heck is this? I doubt even his close friends would be able to recognize who he was from with this expressionless picture that looked like it was taken at the DMV. There were scribbles on his shirt done in permanent marker, starting with yours, my Paracin, and quite a few of your classmates signed as well. Huh? This is Tomitake-san? There was no hint of his usual unreliable and easygoing personality in this photo. It was an expressionless, half-asleep face. Then do you know this woman? Even before seeing it, I had a good idea of who it was. I don't remember her name, but she's some lady who was with Tomitake-san last night. I didn't know what her name was, but I did know she was resident of Hinamizawa. Then when was the last time you saw these two? The night of the Watanagashi, we spoke. They seemed pretty close, I guess. Did anything bother you about them? Anything is fine? Go ahead and say it. Being asked for every little detail is very troubling, honestly. I had a pretty good idea of who this guy was by now. Did something happen to them? There was no response to my inquiry. Thus, I replied to that silence in kind. I was pretty sure, no, certain that this guy was a cop. Then why? Why was he asking about Tomitake-san? Did something happen to him? More importantly, why me? Shouldn't there have been plenty of other people who knew more about him than I did? The roar of the air conditioner felt unbearably loud. After a long pause, he finally spoke again. You moved here just recently, isn't that right, my Paracin? Are you aware, I wonder, about the stories of Oyashiro-sama? My heart began to race. I'm pretty terrible at hiding things. It probably showed on my face. Not at all. If you don't, then that's fine. Well, I have heard of it. Tomitake-san told me, actually. How much do you know about it? The dismemberment killing, the accidental death, the death by illness followed by suicide, and the lady who was beaten to death. The incidents that always happened the day of the Watanagashi, ending in suspicious deaths. I didn't think Tomitake-san would have kept anything from me. I think that was everything. No, rather, I didn't want to think there was anything more than that. Do you know of that, well, curse, Mahabara-san? Feel free to speak openly about it. I don't believe in it. My answer was instant. It wasn't so much that I didn't believe in it as I was on the verge of believing. I wanted to clear away my own doubts. That was the more prominent feeling. Really? Then that's great. Guess you really are one of those city-raised boys. So what if I don't believe? I have friends waiting, so could you get to the point? The man in this picture is dead. And I think I will leave this episode of Higurashi when they cry right here. This is a great cliffhanger to leave this. So thank you so much for watching this. If you liked it, do let me know. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't and ring the goddamn bell for notifications so you'll know when I upload something new. I hope you're all having a wonderful day and I'll see you again next time.